Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcome back to the big show. Hey, do you know what WeatherCon is? If you're a ADL, you probably know what WeatherCon is. But new people, WeatherCon is where we take our awesome meteorologist, Brad Barton. We team him up with Pete Delkus and a couple of the guys from WFAA. They go to the Frontiers of Flight Museum on a Saturday morning. And you get free admission, free parking, free meet and greets with all those guys for your kiddos. And you get all kinds of lessons on weather. You can see some of the vehicles that they do storm chasing in. They have all kinds of scientific demonstrations. You get to go to the museum as well. That's part of it. So you can see they got like missiles and aircraft and things in there. So go check it out. It's all happening on April 27th. That's Saturday, 9:30 in the morning until 1:30 in the afternoon, presented by our friends at the Mullen & Mullen Injury Law Firm. So yeah, WeatherCon. Go check it out. More info, WBAP.com. For my next guest coming back on the show, Sergeant Betsy Bretner-Smith. And I want to talk to you today. Welcome back to the show, first of all. But I want to talk to you today about these anti-American protests that are happening in America. That rubs me the wrong way.
Well, it should rub you the wrong way. It rubs all of us the wrong way. I think all of us who really love this country and understand what's happening. This latest event comes out of Dearborn, Michigan, sometimes called the jihad capital of the world. Now, I don't know that that's...
Of America.
I'm sorry, of America. I don't know that's accurate, but they do have a very large Muslim population, and part of that population is extremely radical. So we had this protest. They had an activist, I'm not even going to utter his name, but calling America one of the rottenest countries on the earth, and calling not just for the death of Israel, but the death of America. You know, those death to America chants that we always hear coming out of Iran. Well, now they're coming out of Dearborn, Michigan. And this is problematic, not just because, you know, we shouldn't have people here who hate America, especially if some of them are American citizens, but because of the unfettered immigration issue we have people pouring into this country who hate America and who have the very real capabilities of creating a 9/11/01 style event somewhere here or in multiple locations in the United States. Christopher Wray, the FBI director, continues to talk about this. And I feel like people are just sort of shrugging their shoulders and going, oh, yeah, whatever. It's an election year. And that is a really lousy way to look at this situation.
So this isn't a rhetorical question. Go ahead and let's just workshop this out a little bit, Betsy. If they think America, what was the quote, is the worstest, most evilest country ever?
Yeah, the rottenest country on earth.
Why would you move here? Why would you move here? And I don't mean that just to be a smart aleck. Why would they move here? To bring it down?
Well, you're right.
Not to help it.
This is the thing. We have a lot of people, including people in our government, who believe that America needs to be knocked down a peg or 2 or 10, that American exceptionalism is something that they find abhorrent. You know, these are the same people that attack our law enforcement. They attack our justice system. They attack our government and our way of life. And unfortunately, we have elected a lot of these people to government leadership in this country, and they want to see America knocked down. They want to turn us into a third world country. And unfortunately, in a lot of ways, they're succeeding.
Well, it's funny because ideologically speaking, if you're one of these sort of socialist-driven leftists, you have the Venn diagram overlap with the Muslim. They probably want a theocracy or something. And the fact that y'all both hate America, that should bother you if you are having the exact same things or a similar thing shouted at your protests as the terrorist.
Well, and I do believe that a lot of people in the United States, you know, just everyday Americans or just trying to live their life, are pretty naive and pretty uninformed about radical Islam. I think a lot of people don't really understand what happened in Israel on October 7th. They don't really understand what Hamas is, what's really happening in the Gaza. They believe the propaganda that is often spewed by some of our media outlets, and that they just don't want to hear it and don't want to understand it. In the meantime, we're in this crazy election year already, and we're ripe for one of these black swan events, or for just a radical lone wolf kind of person, to attack, whether it's a school or a mall, a government installation, whatever. And we're not speaking out against this. This is the thing. Some of the city's religious leaders in Dearborn have called for the extermination of Israel. Everybody likes to talk about hate speech. Isn't that what we might want to call hate speech? And again, this all goes back to our immigration problem. They say that's the number one issue for people. Immigration, crime number 2, the economy number 3. This goes hand in hand. This issue that we're talking about right now covers immigration and it covers crime. People need to get excited about it. They need to speak out about it, because who's going to be dealing with this when that black swan event comes, when these jihadist attacks come? It's going to be the American law enforcement officer and the citizens we're trying to protect.
Betsy, talk about your work with the National Police Association.
I'll tell you what, we are doing so much good work. Go to nationalpolice.org, sign up for our newsletter. You can read about these topics and so much more. And if you get a chance, hit that donate button, because we can't support American law enforcement and the citizens who support us without your help.
All right. Thank you very much, Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith, National Police Association, on the James Show yet again. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And while we're talking about the protests, about what's going on in Israel and Gaza, let's talk about what's going on in Israel and Gaza. And I'm going to tell you why this Gaza plan has me scratching my head on what we have, like a floating pier, and we're going to supply the siege. And okay, details coming up next on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I understand the Middle East, they don't have the best reputation for being the most tranquil part of planet Earth. In fact, they've developed a reputation for being the opposite, a place, a hotbed of conflict and angst, tribal warfare that's been going back for millennia. So I don't think we're going to solve it today, but we are going to at least take a look at it. What we have here is Biden has a Gaza plan. And in Biden's Gaza plan, he wants to set up some sort of port. Now, there's issues because, ports aren't just something that happen. You can't have land next to a body of water that's deep enough that one of those giant container ships big enough to take out the bridge in Baltimore or whatever can actually park there. If you try and pull one of those big container ships up in what's not called a deep water port, it'll run aground long before it gets there. So, these things have to be constructed and maintained. And even if you build one, you have to constantly be dredging around it because sediment piles up. So having a port is kind of a big deal, and it's not an easy thing, and it's not something you do by accident. There's other options, and it's ridiculous. The first time I really even had to think about this, I remember going on a cruise, and when you go to Belize on a cruise, they don't have a deep water port that your boat can actually dock to. So they have little boats that come out to our big boat that pick you up and take you in. You anchor like what looks like a mile out into the ocean. You can kind of see, the land of Belize. But it's a whole weird thing. So the other option is, well, what if you have like a floating barge out there, and that kind of serves the same purpose there, to where we can get supplies in, we can get the big boats in there to drop off a ton of stuff, and we don't have to go through the problems of building a full port. This will be sort of like a temporary solution. And so now I'm confused. Because what we're in right now is, even if they're not talking about this is a siege. This is siege warfare. And in siege warfare, like, you don't have to read Art of War by Sun Tzu to understand what siege warfare is. You have a group that's completely surrounded. They can't get supplies in and out. They're also in a very defensive position. So if you actually wanted to storm the walls and try and take them out manually, it would be a mess. And so in order to minimize casualties on your side, you just seal it off and you wait. And the waiting game works because when they run out of resources, when they run out of clean water and they run out of food and they run out of medicine, they're going to be faced with either, okay, we can either surrender or all die. And what happens? Well, people surrender. Not in all cases, but the faster we can get to that out of resources breaking point, the faster we'll find out. So what happens if there's a siege and you're able to get supplies into the siege? Well, then the suffering can continue longer. Being in a siege is not fun. Being in a siege is suffering. But what we're doing here by giving them supplies, basically sneaking them supplies, is we're extending the suffering. If you've seen Narcos flipping through your Netflix menus, there's one for Colombia, there's one for Mexico. In the Mexico one, they tell it's based on a true story about a DEA agent who got busted by the Mexican cartel, and they brought him in and they tortured him. Well, after you endure so much pain, your body has natural systems that let you pass out. So Kiki Camarena would be being tortured by the Mexican cartel, and he would pass out. What they would do is they would bring in a doctor who would take a shot of adrenaline, kind of like the Pulp Fiction shot. They would hit his heart with that. He would wake back up. So good. We can torture him more, and he can feel more pain, and he can suffer even longer. We can maximize the suffering. This is what we're doing with the Gaza floating pier. We now have the U.S. military constructing a floating pier to get food and supplies to the people of Gaza. Now, I don't know what side you're on. I don't care what side you're on. But we're supplying both sides of a siege. We're in the wrong. We're in the whatever moral justification that you think you have for this, whether you're pro-Palestinian or pro-Israeli, you're both right. We're doing something wrong there. What moral justification could there possibly be to fund both sides of any war? Because now we have Israel also asking, we're running low on munitions, and if you're not going to help us out, then I don't know if we can be friends anymore. So we have both sides that say they need our supplies or they're going to lose. Okay, let me rephrase this in more layman's terms. They need our supplies or this conflict is going to come to an end. Us supplying the war is us feeding the war. Us supplying the war is us continuing the war. And only if we feed both sides does this war continue. If we feed only the Israelis, then the Gazans the siege will work, they will break, they will capitulate and surrender. If we only feed the Gazans and we stop helping out the Israelis, well, then we're not going to have to deal with Israel much longer as an existing country. There'll be a free seat at the UN. The only way we can keep this going is to fund both sides. So when you fund both sides of a war, you are maximizing human suffering. You are prolonging it. A war that otherwise would have been over long ago is still going. And look, I don't care if you're more concerned about the Gazans or the Israelis. The suffering is being extended by what we're doing. Part of the reason Biden has to do this, though, is he's getting crushed in two key places. Number one, college kids. For some reason, they hate Israel and they love Gaza. Getting killed. College towns used to be the deepest of the blue, but they haven't been in this primary season. But also, he's doing even worse with Muslims. Now, Muslims are a tiny, tiny fraction of the U.S. population as a whole, but they happen to have enough of a concentration in Michigan to be able to swing that swing state in the other direction. It's the largest Muslim population per capita. So if he doesn't do something about that, if he doesn't come up with something that can shore up his poll numbers with Muslims in Michigan, this really could cause him a crucial state in the election. It's not going to swing the whole election, but we have so many razor-thin close swing states. There's like 6 of them. He can't afford to lose a whole lot of college students or Muslims in these. So what does he do? Why does this make sense? Well, fine. You're extending the suffering. You're extending the war. You're expanding the number of people who are going to die, who are going to get sick. And it's not good for America. It's not good for the economy of America. It's not good for your inflation. It's not good for the people of Gaza. It's not good for the people of Israel. But it just may help his poll numbers with some key demographics that are lagging. That's why we're funding both sides of a siege. Pretty sick stuff. Your thoughts? 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. This is The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Your tax dollars are being used to construct a pier to get food into Gaza. There's more than 1,000 troops are expected to participate in the operation. The Pentagon says this doesn't count as boots on the ground because this is just boots on a pier. So not this totally different. It's not like we're going to have soldiers in a war zone. I mean, they'll be on a pier, building a pier attached to a war zone, but they're definitely not part of the war zone. I know, but we know what this is about. They tell you, well, this is about delivering 2 million meals a day to Gaza, where, the United Nations says a famine is almost inevitable. Yes, that's what a siege is. This is how we get to the end of wars. Nope. Poll numbers are sagging with college students and Muslim voters over this issue. It is absolutely tanking the guy in charge in the polls. So that's what this is about. That's my guess. Am I wrong? 800-288-9227. Let's ask Christopher and Carrollton. You're on the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on 93.3 FM.
Hello. Yeah. My opinion is just this. If I'm president of the United States, all the years we've had Israel as our ally, we've always done well. You kind of can't keep trying to help out your ally, but behind his back, help the enemy. So you're going to have to pick. So I think I agree in the fact that it is I help Israel, I ain't helping nobody else. If I'm president and you got these young people who I feel are entitled, who are these Generation Z people, that's just my opinion. And they tell me, well, we're not going to vote you in the thing. Fine. But I know I'm protecting Israel, and I've been doing well for myself every time we've done it. I mean, get a chance, look at the military vehicles for America and Israel. Looks real similar. I wonder why. Because we've always helped each other in each other's battles. So if I'm backing Israel, I ain't backing nobody else. And people hate me for it, think I'm a horrible person or anti-American, whatever. I don't care. I'm just saying that's how we do it.
So why do you support Israel over everyone else?
Real simple. One of my closest friends I've known for 20 years is Jewish. And I've asked him about this topic 2 weeks ago. How does he feel? He's got family over there. And he says, look, you cannot keep trying to help somebody who takes people in hospitals or different places and use them as human shields. That's just wrong. So basically, if Israel's doing all the work, really going house to house, building to help its own people, you're right. There's some bad things could happen. So there could be a collateral damage, which you don't want to do. But if you're dealing with an enemy, Hamas, that basically doesn't care what it does to get whatever agenda it wants to push. I'm sorry. It's the enemy. You lose your innocent people as a shield, and you want me to say, well, we already helped out the Gaza people and help out Hamas. And no, I'm not doing it.
Well, do you think the current state of Israel is the heir to the legacy of the Israel in the Bible?
That's a good. I guess for me, I just look at it this way: as long as the Israel prime minister they have right now, he's doing whatever he can for his people. That could be kind of controversial, saying it's like if Israel the way it's supposed to be in the Bible and everything. In fact, that could kind of go either way. It just might, in my opinion only, if I'm helping Israel, whether it's the same Israel in the Bible or Israel that supports America, Israel supports freedom and have a democratic country, whatever, I'm going to support it. It's exactly where I want it to be. Not exactly all the same time.
Well, I'm going to support the Jewish people in general, but if you want to be more godly and look at how he's treated that nation, he has a pretty steady record of just wiping them out every once in a while. Okay, we'll send them all into slavery in Egypt. Okay, here come the Assyrians to knock them out. Okay, here come the Babylonians to take them into exile. And the Persians release them only for the Romans to show up, and they're going to wipe them out in the Maccabean revolt. And they don't have a real good track record with God not wiping out the political entity known as Israel. Now, the people, I consider a different polity altogether. I got to take another call here, though. That's a great discussion, Chris. Thanks for calling in. Howard in Caddo Mills, you're on the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on 93.3 FM. What do you think, Howard?
Yes, I think we should stop sending all aid into Gaza. The aid industries that are there already are aiding and providing aid and comfort to Israel's enemy. You don't provide aid and comfort to the enemy. If we stop all aid, the Palestinians put Hamas in power. Hamas then attacked Israel. Most of the Palestinians still support Hamas. if we cut off all aid to the Palestinians and let them hurt for a while and tell them, hey, you're the ones that put the Hamas in power. You're the ones that are going to need to take them out. Once you do take them out of power, then we will consider restarting aid. But that's what I would do.
Agreed. Well said. Thank you for calling, Howard and Caddo Mills. All right, you're listening to The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP. I want to remind you, Dave Matthews Band coming to Dos Equis Pavilion Saturday, June 1st. Tickets on sale now. LiveNation.com. Head over to the WBAP.com contest page. You can register now for your chance to win tickets. All right, stay put. Coming up next on The James Show, I'm going to talk to Richard Weilman and what is going on with the mass layoffs in the airline industry. That's next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.